Kanye West storms Piers Morgan uncensored, sparking a fiery clash over his anti-Semitic remarks. Tensions boil as Kanye hurls insults, leaving Piers to silence him in a shocking showdown that ends with security stepping in. The studio lights blazed. Down on the set of Piers Morgan Uncensored, the air thick with anticipation. Piers Morgan, sharp-eyed and poised, sat across from Kanye West, whose presence alone commanded attention. The audience, buzzing with excitement, knew this episode, aired on May 9, 2025, was bound to be explosive. Kanye, dressed in a black hoodie and his signature oversized sunglasses, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, exuding defiance. Piers, never one to shy away from a challenge, opened with a measured but pointed tone. "Kanye, your social media posts over the past 2 years have stirred up a storm," Piers began, his voice steady but firm. "Particularly your anti-Semitic remarks. They've caused real pain, real harm. Don't you think it's time to take accountability for the impact of your words, especially with the millions who follow you?" Kanye's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing behind his shades. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, and smirked. "Accountability? Piers, you're out here acting like the morality police, but you're just a loudmouth with a microphone. You don't get to lecture me on what I say or think," the audience gasped, sensing the tension spike. Piers, unfazed, leaned in, his tone sharpening. "I'm not lecturing, Kanye. I'm asking you to explain why you double down on comments that have hurt so many. You've got a platform most could only dream of. Doesn't that come with responsibility?" Kanye scoffed, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Responsibility? Man, you're the last person to talk about that. You sit here, stirring up drama, picking fights for ratings. You're a hypocrite, Piers, a straight-up clown in a suit." The crowd murmured, some cheering Kanye's audacity, others stunned by his venom. Piers raised a hand, signaling for calm, but his eyes glinted with resolve. "Call me what you want, Kanye, but this isn't about me. It's about you using your platform to spread hate. You've targeted Jewish communities, made baseless claims." "Baseless?" Kanye interrupted, his voice rising, cutting through the studio like a blade. "You don't know what I've been through, what I've seen. You're just parroting what the media feeds you. You're too spineless to question the narrative, Piers. You're a puppet." Piers's face hardened, but he kept his composure. "I'm asking you to clarify, Kanye. If you've got evidence, share it. But throwing insults and conspiracies around doesn't make you a truth-teller. It makes you reckless." Kanye laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "Reckless? Nah, I'm real. You're the one sitting there pretending you care about harm while you rake in millions off other people's pain. You're a leech, Morgan, a nobody who thinks he's somebody." The personal attack landed like a punch, and the audience erupted, some booing, others egging Kanye on. Piers, his patience thinning, leaned forward, his voice low but intense. "You can attack me all you want, Kanye, but it doesn't change the fact that your words have consequences. People listen to you. They act on what you say. Don't you see the danger in that?" Kanye slammed his fist on the table, the sound echoing through the studio. "Danger? The only danger here is you, sitting there judging me like you're God. You're a joke, Piers, a washed-up tabloid hack who's jealous of my influence. You wish you had my power." The crowd roared, the energy chaotic. Piers, now visibly irritated, shot back. "Power? Kanye, you're not powerful right now. You're spiraling. You're alienating everyone who ever supported you. You're not a revolutionary. You're a man shouting into the void." Kanye's face twisted with rage, his voice booming. "Spiraling? You wouldn't know truth if it hit you in the face, Piers. I'm out here fighting for what's right, and you're too busy kissing up to the establishment to see it." Piers shook his head, his voice cutting. "Fighting for what's right? Kanye, you're fighting for chaos. You're not a hero. You're a liability." He paused, his gaze piercing. "And frankly, I'm starting to think you're not well." "This isn't genius. This is derangement." The accusation hung in the air, a spark ready to ignite. Kanye's eyes blazed, and the studio fell silent, waiting for the explosion. Kanye's eyes burned with fury, his hands gripping the edge of the table as Piers's words, "derangement," echoed in the silent studio. The audience held their breath, the tension so thick it felt like the air itself might crack. Kanye leaned forward, his voice low and venomous, each word deliberate. "You want to call me deranged, Piers? You? A guy who's made a career out of yelling at people on TV? You're the one who's unhinged, man. Look at you sweating under those lights, desperate for a viral moment." Piers, his face a mask of controlled anger, didn't flinch. "I'm not the one ranting about conspiracies and insulting entire communities, Kanye. You're dodging the question. Why keep pushing this anti-Semitic nonsense? What's the end game here?" Kanye shot up from his chair, pacing a tight circle, his movements erratic. "Endgame? You think I'm playing a game? I'm out here exposing truths you're too scared to touch. You're a coward, Piers. A sellout who picks fights with people like me to stay relevant." He jabbed a finger at Piers, his voice rising. "You're nothing without me sitting here. I'm the reason your show's trending right now." The audience erupted, some cheering Kanye's bravado, others shouting in protest. Piers raised a hand, his voice cutting through the noise. "Sit down, Kanye. You're not running this show. You're here to answer for your actions, not to throw tantrums like a child." Kanye froze, his face twisting with rage. "A child? You're calling me a child? Man, you're a pathetic old hack who's jealous of my genius. You can't handle someone who speaks their mind. You want me to bow down to you? Never." He slammed his hand on the table again, the sound sharp and jarring. "You're a fraud, Piers. A fake journalist who's in bed with the same system you pretend to fight." Piers's eyes narrowed, his patience fraying. "You keep attacking me, Kanye, but it's not working. You're deflecting. You've hurt people. With your words. Jewish communities, your fans, even your own family. Kim's spoken out about how your behaviors affected your kids. Doesn't that matter to you?" Kanye's expression darkened at the mention of his ex-wife, his voice dropping to a dangerous growl. "Don't you dare bring Kim into this, you lowlife. You don't know my life, my kids, my struggle. You're just fishing for headlines, you disgusting vulture." He stepped closer to Piers, looming over the table. "You want to talk about hurt? How about the hurt you cause, twisting people's words for your little circus show?" The crowd gasped, the hostility palpable. Piers stood his ground, his voice icy. "I'm doing my job, Kanye, holding you accountable. You can't just say whatever you want and expect no pushback. You're not untouchable. You're a public figure who's crossed a line." Kanye laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Accountable? To you? You're a nobody, Piers. A washed-up tabloid guy who thinks he's a king. I'm Kanye West. I change culture. You just comment on it like a bitter old man." He leaned in, his face inches from Piers's. "You're obsessed with me. Admit it. You're nothing without people like me to prop you up." Piers's jaw clenched, but he kept his tone steady. "Obsessed? Kanye, I'm worried about you. You're not changing culture right now, you're burning bridges. You're alienating everyone. This isn't power. It's a meltdown, and honestly, it's painful to watch." Kanye's eyes widened, his voice booming. "Painful? You don't know pain, Piers. You sit in your fancy studio judging me, while I'm out here fighting battles you can't even imagine. You're a parasite, feeding off my name. You should be thanking me for even showing up." The audience was on edge, the studio a powder keg. Piers leaned forward, his voice sharp and unyielding. "Thanking you? For what? For spewing hate? For insulting me, my show, and everyone watching? You're not a victim here, Kanye. You're a grown man who's lost control, and it's time you faced that. Kanye's face contorted, his voice a snarl. Lost control? Nah, I'm in control. You're the one who's about to lose it, Piers. Keep pushing me and I'll bury you. I'll make sure everyone sees you for the fraud you are. He pointed at the camera, his voice rising to a shout. This guy's a liar, a manipulator. He's not on your side, people. He's on his own. Piers shook his head, his voice low but piercing. Bury me. Kanye, you're burying yourself. And if you keep this up, you're going to drag everyone down. With you. He paused, his eyes locked on Kanye's. I'm giving you one chance to calm down and have a real conversation. Or this ends now. Kanye smirked, his voice dripping with defiance. Ends? You don't get to end this, Piers. I do. He crossed his arms, staring Piers down, daring him to make the next move. Kanye's smirk hung in the air, his defiant stance, a challenge that electrified the studio. His arms stayed crossed, his eyes locked on Piers Morgan, who sat unflinching, the weight of the moment pressing down on them both. The audience was a live wire, their murmurs a low hum of anticipation. Piers, his voice steady but laced with steel, broke the silence. You think you're calling the shots here, Kanye? You're not. You're on my show, and I've had enough of your insults and your chaos. You want to talk about truth? Then start by owning up to the damage you've done. Kanye's laugh was sharp, cutting. Damage? You're the one damaging people, Piers, with your sanctimonious preaching. You act like you're above me, but you're just a loudmouth who's mad I won't play your game. He leaned forward, his voice a growl. You're scared of me, aren't you? Scared of what I represent. Someone who won't bow to your establishment nonsense. Piers's eyes flashed, but he kept his tone measured. Scared? No, Kanye, I'm disgusted. You're not a rebel. You're a bully hiding behind your fame. You've used your platform to spread hate, and now you're lashing out because someone's finally calling you on it. Kanye shot to his feet again, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. A bully? You're the bully, Piers. You drag people on here just to tear them down. You're a sad, desperate man who's jealous of my freedom. You wish you could be half as real as me. He pointed at the audience, his voice booming. You see this guy? He's a fake, a snake who'll sell out anyone for a soundbite. The crowd erupted, some cheering Kanye's fire, others booing his aggression. Piers stood now matching Kanye's energy, his voice rising. Real? Kanye, there's nothing real about you right now. You're a walking contradiction, preaching truth while spreading lies, claiming freedom while hurting others. You're not a hero. You're a mess. Kanye's face twisted, his voice a snarl. A mess? You're the mess, Piers. Look at you, pandering to your audience, acting like you're some moral compass. You're a sellout who flips sides whenever it suits you. Brexit, Trump, you're all over the place, man. You're a political chameleon, and you've got the nerve to judge me? Piers's jaw tightened, the personal jab hitting hard. You want to talk politics, Kanye? Fine. I've been consistent in calling out nonsense on all sides, including yours. But you're not taking a stand. You're just throwing gasoline on every fire you see. You're not principled. You're reckless. Kanye stepped closer, his voice dripping with contempt. Reckless? Nah, I'm revolutionary. You're too busy kissing up to power to see it. You're a lapdog for the system, Piers. Always have been. That's why you hate me, because I'm free and you're chained to your little TV empire. The audience gasped, the confrontation teetering on the edge. Piers, his patience gone, leaned in, his voice low and cutting. Free? Kanye, you're not free. You're trapped in your own head, ranting about conspiracies and enemies that don't exist. You're not a revolutionary. You're a danger to yourself and everyone who listens to you. Kanye's eyes blazed, his voice a roar. Danger? The only danger here is you, Piers, sitting there like your judge and jury. You're a nobody who thinks he's God. You're jealous of my influence, my vision. You're a small man with a big mouth, and I'm done with you." He turned to the camera, pointing. "This guy's a fraud, people. Don't believe a word he says. He's using me to stay relevant." Piers shook his head, his voice icy. "Using you? Kanye, you're using your platform to hurt people. And I'm not going to let you sit here and pretend that's okay. You've gone too far. You're not just rude, you're unhinged. And I'm not going to indulge this anymore." Kanye laughed, a bitter, mocking sound. "Unhinged? You're the one losing it, Piers. You can't handle me because I'm too real for you. You're scared I'm exposing you for what you are, a hypocrite who's in love with his own voice." Piers's face hardened, his voice ablaze. "Exposing? Me? Kanye, you're exposing yourself. Every word out of your mouth is another nail in your coffin. You're not a genius right now, you're a liability. And I'm done letting you hijack this show." He paused, his eyes locked on Kanye's. "You need to leave. Now." Kanye froze, his smirk fading, replaced by a look of pure defiance. "Leave? You don't tell me what to do, Piers. I'm Kanye West. I go when I want, not when some washed-up host throws a tantrum." He crossed his arms, planting himself firmly in place, daring Piers to escalate. Kanye stood defiant, his arms crossed, his glare fixed on Piers Morgan, who sat resolute, the studio crackling with tension. The audience was frozen, their eyes darting between the two men, sensing the confrontation had reached its breaking point. Piers's voice, calm but unyielding, sliced through the silence. "Kanye, you've had your say. You've insulted me, this show, and everyone watching. But this ends now. You're not in control here. Leave, or I'll have you removed." Kanye's laugh was sharp, dripping with scorn. "Removed? You think you can just kick me out like I'm some nobody? I'm Kanye West, man. I made this show tonight. Without me, you're just yelling into a void." He stepped closer, his voice a low growl. "You're scared, Piers. Scared I'm too big for you to handle. You're a small man trying to play God." Piers stood, his presence commanding, his voice steady. "Scared? No, Kanye, I'm done. Done with your tantrums, your hate, your excuses. You're not a victim and you're not a king. You're a man who's lost his way, and I won't let you drag this show down with you." He pointed to the exit. "Go, now!" Kanye's eyes blazed, his voice rising to a shout. "Drag you down? You're already at the bottom, Piers. You're a parasite who feeds off people like me. You're jealous of my power, my truth. You're nothing." He turned to the audience, arms wide. "You see this? This is what they do to people who speak out. They silence us." The crowd roared, split between cheers and boos, the chaos fueling Kanye's fire. Piers, his face a mask of resolve, shook his head. "Silence you? Kanye, you've been shouting nonsense for an hour. But you've crossed a line. You've attacked me, my integrity, and worse, you've used your platform to hurt people. I'm not silencing you, I'm holding you accountable." Kanye sneered, stepping so close the crew tensed. "Accountable? You're a hypocrite, Piers. You flip-flop on every issue. Brexit, Trump, whatever gets you clicks. You're a clown in a suit, and I'm done pretending you matter." He jabbed a finger at Piers. "You're finished, man. I'll make sure the world knows what a fraud you are." Piers's voice dropped, cold and final. "Finished? Kanye, look at yourself. You're ranting, raving, alienating everyone. You're not a revolutionary. You're a tragedy. And I'm not letting you turn my show into your circus." He turned to the crew, his tone firm. "Get security. He's done." Kanye's face twisted with rage. "Security? You're pathetic, Piers. You can't handle me, so you're calling for backup? Weak." He planted himself in the chair, arms crossed. "I'm not moving. You'll have to drag me out, and good luck with that headline." The audience gasped as 4 security guards emerged, their presence imposing. Piers raised a hand, his voice unwavering. "Last chance, Kanye. Walk out with dignity, or they'll escort you." "Your choice," Kanye laughed, bitter and defiant. "Dignity? You don't know the word, Piers. You're a coward hiding behind your goons. I'm Kanye West. I don't bow to you or anyone." He leaned back, smirking. "Go ahead, make your move." Piers nodded to the guards who approached Kanye swiftly. The crowd erupted, some shouting in support, others in shock. Kanye stood, shoving a guard's hand away. "Don't touch me. I'm leaving, but not because of you, Piers. Because this show's a joke, just like you." He turned to the camera, pointing. "Remember this, people. They can't handle the truth." The guards flanked him, guiding him toward the exit. Kanye kept shouting, his voice echoing as he was led out. "You're done, Piers! You hear me? Done!" The studio door slammed shut, and the audience fell silent, the weight of the moment sinking in. Piers sat, exhaling, his voice steady but heavy. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Kanye West, a man with immense talent, but right now, immense pain. He's not a villain, but he's not a hero either. He's a reminder that fame doesn't excuse harm, and words have consequences. He looked at the camera, his eyes piercing. "We tried to have a conversation. He chose chaos. But this show isn't about chaos, it's about truth. And tonight, the truth won." The audience applauded, some standing, the energy triumphant yet somber. Piers leaned back, the studio lights glinting off his resolute expression. Online, the clip went viral, sparking heated debates about free speech, accountability, and the cost of unchecked influence. Kanye's exit became a cultural flashpoint, but for Piers, it was a stand for principle, a moment where the line was drawn, and the circus was shut down.